There are some games that are not meant to be compared. Some things that will be, if you try comparing them, it will bring out fan rage and fan anger among both of them, both fan bases. We're gonna be and this will be a series that I'll start doing of comparing two controversial series that comparing them will cause controversy either way, as both fan bases will not relent over Overwatch or TF2. People will compare Overwatch to Paladins, but TF2 versus Overwatch is now become a meme at this point. But let's see if which game is actually better, and why TF2 or Overwatch could be better than each other. Okay, so let's first talk about characters. TF2 and Overwatch have a lot of memorable characters. A lot of the characters in Overwatch and all the characters in TF2 are very likable and TF2 is mostly generic personalities of different cultures, and Overwatch is kind of the same thing. Some of the characters are kind of stereotypes of cultures, like McCree is a stereotype of someone from Texas, and so on and so forth. And D was a stereotype of Koreans and how Koreans always are obsessed with games. But TF2 has a ton of... All the characters in TF2 are very, very likable and are very, very memorable. A lot of characters... But Overwatch, not so much. So some characters that a lot of people love in Overwatch. In Overwatch, you'll never say, damn, that heavy. Damn, that's medic. No, you go wrong, but Overwatch, it's kind of like, you always blame it on the characters and stuff. And the characters Overwatch has a lot of very likable characters, but has a few dislikable characters in the game. Now let's talk about variety. TF2 has only 9 classes, but you can customize the characters' weapons and stuff. So it gives you, and they add new weapons every other day. And they add new weapons frequently. Valve adds new weapons a lot of times. It's like Borderlands. There's bad weapons and good weapons. Overwatch is just 28 heroes. You get the standard set, and you stay at the standard set of weapons. You can have skins, but that's all. TF2 has hats, has customizable weapons, so TF2 wins in the customization slot. Stages, TF2 has moddable stages. You can have modded stages. The stages in TF2 and Overwatch are basically just... A lot of TF2 stages, you can have modded stages as well on TF2. And there's a lot of more variety of stages and a more variety of game modes in TF2. And basically, but there's a lot more variety. Then we have to go next to the fan base. Really, you can't really compare the TF2 fan base to the Overwatch fan base. The Overwatch fan base is basically a bunch of hooligans who basically, if you got Overwatch animations, half of them show up as porn. Not kidding. Like, literally, before the game launched, people were making just Overwatch porn. Why? Why? The TF2 fanbase has its annoyances too. TF2 can come go. TF2 is over a 10-year-old game. So guess what? There's a lot of annoying kids on there. Old games usually have turned into, most old games usually have just kids. And a lot of kids still play TF2. Most of the adults move to more bigger games like Fortnite and PUBG. But TF2 does have some bad players, but every game has these players, so let's not really count the fan base as a whole and skip on this one, as we have more worse fan bases games to compare with fan bases. Talking about fighting games next. But next we're going to balancing. A hero student needs to have good and fair balanced characters. All the TF2 characters, you can tier list them, but none of the characters are inherently disadvantaged to be not played. Overwatch comes with the same problems that every big roster of characters comes with. Balancing issues. Overwatch has balancing issues ever since the launch of the game. The launch of the game of Overwatch had many balancing issues at all costs. Balancing issues. Overwatch has had a ton of balancing issues. And they still go on today. If you look at Overwatch play rate, There's still a lot of characters that just never get picked, and just like Bastion and Torbjorn are two big examples of characters. Despite Blizzard's attempts to make Torbjorn better, was basically the game's engineer, Torbjorn still is not picked by anyone. And that's pretty sad because he's basically like the engineer, and the engineer is very balanced for the tf2 watch. So basically, if you look at the pick rate of Overwatch by Overbuff, it's similar to how the tier list is. There are characters that are picked less than 1% of the time. Torbjorn, Symmetra, and Bastion. The 3 characters that are kind of like the engineer, where they can make traps and stuff. So Overwatch is now... but the thing is, Overwatch is more about being a team than TF2. TF2 is basically being a team, but really trying to coordinate with the... TF2 is really more about... It's different than Overwatch, because TF2 is... You can play with 30 to 40 players, and it's far harder to play as a team when you're playing with 20 other players on the same map, or if it's 2v1s, which Overwatch makes sure that it's not, they don't have the unbalanced, which Overwatch, which TF2 loses in this first category here, unbalanced matches. Sometimes TF2 can have very, very, very unbalanced matches. Sometimes it can be 1v2. And unless the player is an absolute pro, that one player will get absolutely owned every single time. Overwatch, they make sure players join and make sure people in one game, and they even penalize you for leaving the game, which is something that TF2 does not do at all. Which, another thing Overwatch does better than TF2 is punishing hackers and cheaters. Modded stuff does not count. Actual hacking and cheating to get every single item in the game, and always winning and aimbotting, TF2 doesn't really punish that much compared to Overwatch. If you're not even trying to use an aimbot in Overwatch, you get banned right away, and at least they do that correctly. Comparing both Overwatch and TF2 is practically impossible, as comparing both games is like comparing like apples and oranges, or cookies and cake. The flavors taste so very similar, the same, and there's really no... you can like TF2 better, it can like Overwatch better. Overwatch takes much less time to play, as TF2 is in a series of rounds, and Overwatch is like one round. And Overwatch games are shorter, and that's probably why they don't penalize you for leaving TF2 matches, because if your parents call you up for dinner, you can just leave. But Overwatch is kind of a more... Here's what I really think. TF2 is kind of more competitive than Overwatch, and sorts of things, as Overwatch has... As I always said, Overwatch has a very, very bad balance issue rate. You have like 10 characters that are not even played that have less than 2% pick rates. And you have like 3 characters dominating at least 40% of their pick rate. TF2, I think, has a more balanced pick rate. There's some characters, every class is at least picked once per match. Overwatch, those characters that are completely ignored even after the 1 hero per game policy they did, it still didn't affect the hero pick rate, and everybody still gravitates for the top 6 characters. And both games have microtransactions, which you can't... So if you want to play a game, but here's the final consensus on Overwatch versus TF2. Let's end the debate. You can't really compare to a 10-year-old game versus a 2-year-old game. Overwatch is still a relatively new game in terms of gaming. Overwatch is a relatively new series. TF2 is a veteran in terms of games, so TF2 had 10 years to fix out all of its bugs and patches and glitches. So Overwatch, you can of course like either game and play either game. And if you're a fan of either game, you can like either Overwatch or TF2. You can like either game, and whichever game suits you, the better. TF2 is free and Overwatch isn't, which is one consideration you must make. But at least it's still better than Fortnite. Both games are better than Fortnite. Trying to compare these two games to Fortnite is like trying to compare poop to gold. At least we can all agree that Fortnite is completely a waste of money and a waste of things. And yes, basically, you can like both games if you want. I played both games lots of times before. Both games are really fun. I actually recommend playing both games, but on a critical standpoint, TF2 would actually be better than Overwatch because TF2 is more balanced, there's modern maps, and Overwatch has its own sides, less hackers, less annoying kids, and the game is more newer. So content is still being added, and Overwatch is still being updated relatively frequently, as TF2 is a 11-year-old game, and I think they're still updating the game as well. And TF2 still has an active, healthy player base, which is very, very, very rare in 11-year-old games. Most games by now would be dead, would be in the cockfire, and only a few people would be playing them. And the only game I can see lasting this long is like a Smash Bros. Game or Mario Kart game. A game that you come back and to return to play with your friends. But this game, the TF2, there are an active player base of 40,000 people actually active player count right now. Overwatch, I actually don't have the player statistics for Overwatch. I actually go look them up. Overwatch is also, but both games kind of took a hit when the game Fortnite released, and of course, both games still have the dedicated fan bases that will continue to ridicule each other. But really, guys, but here's the thing. Overwatch fan base should try to play TF2, and TF2 fans should try to play Overwatch and found your opinions for yourself. That's the whole beauty of living. Goodbye, make sure to like, subscribe, and do all that. And if you're an Overwatch fan, play TF2 as I said before. And if you're a TF2 fan, you should try playing Overwatch because both games are very, very similar, and both games have their own bad ups and downs. Goodbye.